Otis asks, if you could go back in FPV history to any time, what time would you go back to and why? I think for me, one of my favorite years in FPV was 2018. 2018, one of the things about it was that digital hadn't become a thing yet. Digital became a thing in like August, September of 2019 when the DJI FPV system came out. And as awesome as digital FPV systems are, and I think a lot of people agree that they're awesome, it was really nice to know that when you showed up at a flight event, every single person's video feed would be spectatable on your goggles. There was no like, oh, they've got DJI and I've got walk snail, so I can't spectate them. Anyone who was in the air, you could just throw your goggles on, blip, 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 and find them and watch them fly. Everybody was compatible. 2018, around January of 2018, I started doing quad camp events. I think the first one was a little earlier than that, maybe late 2017. But pretty much through all of 2018, I was doing quad camp events, and Rotor Riot spent a ton of money flying 5 or 8 Rotor Riot people around the country, shooting episodes, doing quad camp, spending a whole weekend building and hanging out and flying with people who were just super happy to be there. And then at the end of the day, go back to the Airbnb, fix your quads, hang out, play video game, play Mario Kart and drink Prosecco, whatever, it's some of the most fun I think I've had. And it was just a really, really great year. It ended up, Quad Camp ended up not actually making enough money to be sustainable in the format that it was in. Some of that was all those Airbnbs and Proseccos that we bought. I distinctly remember this one time where we were all out at a Mexican restaurant and somebody ordered margarita pitchers for the whole table. And I was like, I'm having a great time. Who's paying for all of this? Nobody seems concerned. I guess it's okay. And it turned out that, the quad camp attendees, their tickets were supposed to be what was covering these expenses. But one of the reasons I think quad camp failed, from a business perspective, it failed. I don't like saying those words. But it didn't make enough money to be sustainable. So from a business perspective, it failed. One of the reasons it failed was that it's way more expensive than you think, or maybe not. Maybe you have a perspective. Like to get 5 or 8 people, that's like four like known name pilots, and then maybe a couple other support staff. To get these people onto a plane, to fly them to a location, to put them up in an Airbnb, to feed them, that's all expensive. And then to get people to pay tickets to come to your event, it was more challenging than people didn't like. He goes to a fucking real estate seminar and you pay $250 for the weekend and you get food and you think it's a great deal, but you ask somebody to pay $250 to come hang out with Rotor Riot pilots for the weekend and they're like, "Are you joking? It's too expensive. It's not worth it." It's like, okay, like don't spend the money if you don't think it's worth it, but like don't act like I spit in your face. Some people did. So one of the reasons it didn't make enough money was that it was just more expensive, I think, than it just didn't take in enough money for how much it would have cost. But one of the reasons that it didn't make enough money was that I think that some of the expenditures were a little not kept an eye on as closely as they maybe would have been because I came from this was just after I went full time, and I came from the corporate world Where when I went on a business trip, my boss was like, "You may only spend this much on dinner, this much on lunch. You must," and my expense reports and shit. And then we were just going out, and we were like, "Yeah, no, Rotor Riot's got it." It was pretty good, but it was an amazing time, and I loved every minute of it. So somebody has something positive to say about FPV, about Rotor Riot. It's me.